So, welcome to Spirit Studio Town Hall. I am Bishan Kumar.
And I'm Shalini Kumar.
So, this situation is world over has shocked all the industrial sector, and most of the sectors which drive the economy are in complete lockdown. And this especially has created a serious challenge for the small and medium enterprises, which are some of them are looking at a complete or near total decimation if no relief package is given. But as we believe that every crisis offers some opportunities as well, today we are going to interact with some young liquor entrepreneurs, try to understand from them what is the situation at the ground level where they operate, and what does the future holds for them.
So let me welcome all our guests, young entrepreneurs, liquor entrepreneurs. And we start with Shivam. Shivam is the founder and CEO of Kritara Enterprises. And then we have with us Shantanu Upadhyay. He is also a young entrepreneur. He started his business year before last, and he produces, imports rather, Kati Patang here. Yeah. So welcome Shantanu. And then we have Abhinav Jindal, and he is founder of Kimaya Himalayan and produces two beers. One is Avira and one is
Be
Young. So
Cheers.
always be young.
Cheers.
Yes, cheers. And then we have Anand Virmani, who is co-founder of Now Spirits, which has greater than gin.
And Mapusa.
And Hapusa.
Hapusa.
So let's welcome all.
Yeah. So great. I will throw an open question to all of you, and you can pick it up, and one by one you can start talking about it. So as I said in my introductory remark that this is an unprecedented situation in human history. So what kind of challenges this pandemic situation has, and the lockdown which is continuing, has thrown at you, and how are you people coping up with it? Any one of you?
I don't mind starting.
Yeah. Go
So for us, honestly, it's been 2 months of zero sales. So that in itself, for any business person, forget just the liquor piece. For any business person is a bit of a concern, because there's always working capital for us that's going in and out, right? So you're always dependent on at the end of the month, paying salaries, etc. On the fact that sales and recoveries and all have happened, during that particular month. So of course that's the biggest challenge. I think on the consumer side there isn't that much, because I think distance makes the heart grow fonder. So from the consumer side, we've actually gotten a lot of positive messages saying, listen, we're waiting for you guys to open up and everything. So I don't think there's that much of a concern there. I think the biggest concern for us, one is of course loss of business, and that's very direct. But indirectly, there's a huge concern that the industry itself is affected, right? So there's an expectancy for 7 million jobs to be lost within the F&B sector, and that's primarily guys working in the restaurants and bars. Because there's absolutely, so while retail is opening up now already, and we're 2 months in, retail is opening up just now. So people can buy and consume at home. The space, unfortunately, that gets hit most is the fact that restaurants and bars are just no longer viable options for people to go out and actually enjoy a beer or a gin or a whiskey the way they would have 2 months ago, the way that it was very normal for anyone around the world to have done so 2 months ago. So there is a huge new normal that's coming up, but unfortunately for everyone involved in directly in the bar and restaurant side, it's going to be a bigger slide. At least for the next 6 months, maybe to a year. There's only one person exactly who's been optimistic enough to say, no, 4 months from now we're going to open. Don't know if that's naive or if they know something that we don't. But yeah, I think F&B side from the restaurant and so the on-trade side, I think it's going to be a huge impact.
Okay. So I think.
Yeah, Abhinav, you start.
Go ahead, Abhinav.
So I was saying that I think it is one of those times when all of us, I mean, most of us being young entrepreneurs, and we were all startups per se, and we wanted to be the disruptors, and then here comes a situation that kind of disrupts everything. So I think this was the biggest disruption that the alcohol industry could ever embrace. Now it affects in multiple ways, especially in the beer category, where and I'm sure my other panelists would agree with what I'm trying to say here, is not just that it affects disclosure of business, but here it has affected our entire planning cycle. What do we produce? When do we produce? We have a shelf life. Whatever produced was there in the market, in the pipelines, in the market, which is prone to getting expired. Management of working capital cycle. You've not had any sales.
And then almost all the season is gone now. Almost.
I was coming to that, yes. Yeah. So 30% of the season is already lost. People are now scared. Now that's the input from the ground level, that people are scared from actually having chilled beer. What if it gives them a sore throat? Nobody, I mean, they're so scared of going and getting themselves tested for COVID. Just getting tested for COVID is not an issue, but going and getting tested, they might just catch COVID. So a lot of things are affecting beer on the ground level. So you have issues of working capital cycle, you have issues of planning your production, you have issues of beer getting expired in the pipeline, you have issues of the consumer being a bit scared of how he needs to have his favorite beer in this time of crisis. So it has thrown many challenges to all of us.
So now Shantanu?
Yeah, just to add to what Anand and Abhinav talked about, I think one of the things that is unique about COVID-19 is that it has sent both the demand and supply into some sort of a disarray at the same time, right? So now, and what the government did, it was of course, we had these days of lockdown, so it is almost 50 days of prohibition as well in some way. Yeah. Now, now once they opened up, let's say few shops in Delhi, and then the media kind of feasted on the mayhem that caused on the streets, right? Now the issue that is there is that if you look at the alcobev industry, the government always had a bit of a disdain, right? Being like a sin product, the so-called sin product for all these times, and they want to get the revenue out of us. So rather than expecting a stimulus from them, I think they're expecting a stimulus from us in some ways. Right? And
I agree completely.
Completely agree.
Right, and see what they don't realize is that especially the entrepreneurs like us, right? We're trying to make the difference. We are if you look at the craft gin or the craft beer space, we are in fact driving the agenda of moderation in some way, right? That we are getting people to drink better in some sense. Good. Now, if you look at beer, if you look at the excise that we pay is already the highest for a percentage of alcohol that we have, right? In any case, and then besides opening up in a shoddy manner, right? They have slapped a Corona fee on top of it, right? 70% of MRP, like you just talked about, right? In Delhi. Now, what it means is that a quality product, right? Because we all know that, we have been jostling to create a quality product. It costs money. Our products are, of course, a lot more expensive than what is traditionally being available in the market. So by some decision making, we are being priced out of the market, right? And if you look at it, if I am in the same, shoes, it will hurt to buy a pint of beer for $300, right? So I think what the government has done in this way is that by slapping the corona tax, by opening in not in a very structured way, what they've done is that they have kind of emboldened the monopolies that typically, work in this space, like in alcobev sector. See, today it's a lockdown, the borders are still sealed, but like by design, such things promote evasion of duty and bootlegging, right? Like, so this is, when we are looking to build the new brands, but if most of the money is going to the bootleggers, that's the point of concern, right? And secondly, the consumer loses a choice, right? He might go for like a quarter of like a hard liquor rather than buying an expensive craft beer or craft gin. So I think more than like asking for a stimulus, I think my ask from the government would be to give us some space, right? So that folks like us who are trying to do like a different thing, are trying to do the new thing, get to grow and do it.
Okay.
Great.
And Shivam, we have heard about craft products and everything, and now you tell me about.
You are the only whiskey guy.
Only whiskey guy, yeah, in the panel.
So firstly, I think I would say that, I'm in a better position than a beer manufacturer like Abhinav and Shantanu here. They have a bigger challenge in terms of beer might get expired and stuff. So I think we are better off in terms of that. But I feel information right now is not being transmitted to us in a manner in which we can handle the situation better. There is no news there's no conversation between the excise and us manufacturers, makers, to help. If they increase the price by say 10-20%, I think a lot of us would have agreed, and that won't change our core customer for which we build the brand and we're targeting. So there is no conversation between the excise and us makers, and things are thrown at us, and they just expect us to manage somehow. And I think we are 30-40% contributors to the economy in a certain sense, and we don't get that respect for sure. So I feel there has to be at least dialogue, if not anything else, that when they're making such decisions, and if they don't want to involve younger companies like ours, they should involve at least more experienced people. Have conversation between different states. I was saying there's bootlegging happening. Now Haryana might take a different decision and Delhi might take a different decision. And that will definitely impact import of goods from Haryana into Delhi. And we cannot control that. That's beyond our control, and this obviously will impact us. And I think that's the basic I would expect from the department we are serving in a certain sense. That information has to be passed on to us slightly before they launch, they announce something ahead, and the people involved in this entire trade need to brush themselves up in the sense that they need to be more cooperative in that sense.
Right. You mean to say that whatever decision the government takes, excise department takes, they should involve you on before taking the decision.
Ma'am, if we do not make stuff, what will they get the revenue? How will they get the revenue from? Okay. Right.
I think this is a problem that's not just COVID related. I think this is in general. We've never been asked.
Yeah.
It's always because the constitution says that we should target prohibition, etc. We should aim towards prohibition.
Yeah,
it's almost like they're doing us. It's almost like we're being done a favor by being allowed to sell and produce.
Yeah.
In general.
I think it's similar to sex education in India. We don't talk about it, and yet we are 130-140 crore people in the country. So the more you drive us away from having liquor, the more people are going to go towards it. So as Shantanu was saying, we need moderation and we need better quality. And for that, we need to be given some certain amount of time to, build those brands, and we need to invest in those rather than just, being a part of the circus. So I feel a lot can be done, at least in terms of information and participation from the makers.
From what you said, Shivam, I understand that as soon as the Prime Minister announced the complete shutdown for a period of time, so all the production facilities were shut down. You had no prior information, number one. Number two, that when they started opening liquor vends and they said now people can go and buy liquor, were you informed, and that were you ready with your products, or were you allowed to produce? What was the calendar like?
I'll give you an example. So we get a notification from the Delhi Excise that you need to pay your fees, right? Before opening on Monday, you have an email in your account on Friday evening or Saturday, whichever for different people, right? If they are asking us to pay the fees for a month, we are closed. We have not operated, right? They are asking us to pay for April. I'm talking in Delhi terms, April, May, June. If they're asking for the fees, can they not send some information along with that these are the events that will be open? We have to scramble, ask departments which are the shops which are going to open. We have no clue at all whatsoever as to what is opening, who do we call, who do we manage our operations with, and our sales team is also, just shooting everywhere.
So that's what tell me, Shivam, Anand, everyone, Abhinav, that the stuff which you already had in your godowns, warehouses, that you send to the liquor shops, or you were allowed to operate, manufacture the product in your factories, distilleries?
So I'll take that question from you, ma'am. So one, there was no clarity. What this has shown is there's complete lack of coordination and dissemination of information down the channels. So every state has behaved in their own manner and how they interpreted the information sent to you by the center. So one, there was no coordination. Two, the alcohol, in our case, our brewery was not allowed to function till such time that we have valid permits in hand. So they say, who are you going to produce for? If you don't have permits, no need of production.
Okay.
So which means that when the trade opened, most of the units, and I assume safely that most of the units were not functional. So they I think, started operating once the trade opened. Whatever, Delhi still, I think yesterday my information was that about 110 out of 191 vents allowed were only open. For more than a week, only about 50 to 60 vents were open. And that's out of about 800 plus. So they allowed 191 out of 800 plus, out of which also,
I think that's government shop.
Yes, and they've just been able to operate about 50% of what they actually intended to open. And for us, we've been only feeding the market for the first few weeks with what we had in stock, either in warehouses or at the brewery level. And we've since been able to start production, but as you know, beer would take its own cycle depending upon the brew cycle that we all have. And I can safely assume that for beers it will take about 20 days from the day that you actually start your brew house.
Yeah. Okay.
No, to get to the market. So from brew house to the market, you have a minimum of 20 days in between, broadly. And then that's the challenge. But I think what has also happened in the interim is that because of a slack in demand of beer, people have just been trying to store up on another month or 2 months of alcohols, lest the stores again shut down and then you have another lockdown coming in. So you have people stocking in on their whiskeys and gins and vodkas. So I'm sure Shivam can smile and Anand can also smile on this.
So what was the case with you, Anand? You had your...
So it's been different, Shalini. We are available in 6 different states. So every state has kind of had their own problems and opportunities. So Karnataka, for example.
Did you have these stocks? The time government allowed?
So luckily, and we don't have a direct line to the Prime Minister's office, but luckily we had just stocked up most of our markets right before, because we were expecting March end is generally when there's a lot of pickup, because that's when your license going to renewal. So not entirely, but Maharashtra had enough stock. Karnataka had just received stock, but they were all lying in depots, etc. So not necessarily at retail stores. Now, for example, in Karnataka, there were retail stores that were allowed to open, so they liquidated all the stock that they had. But because of the price increase, they needed us to get the entire price approval process done again. Okay. Right, so it's gone from 1,500 something to 1,900 something in Bangalore, in Karnataka.
Okay.
So they wanted, so it's not like it happened automatically, right? They said, okay, there's going to be a price increase, this says whatever else. So we said, okay, fine, but let us sell. No. So whatever is at the depot remains at the depot. We then need to go out and get the price increase done, which means lots of jostling and stuff at the excise office. And in fact, as of last night, we've just got our price increase approved, right? So the whole new pricing and all has just been approved. So almost 10 days after technically liquor shops opened. Today, since morning, we've actually finally been able to sell to the retailers, right? So from the depot to the retailers, we've finally been able to sell, which actually is what counts as a sale.
It took you 10 days.
Yeah. So, well, in Delhi, it's still taking time, right? Because in Delhi, most of our vends, the bigger vends are actually private shops, which have still not been allowed to open. We don't know why.
Yeah.
The fact that it's only government shops operating probably means that it's just another way for them to keep a little bit more of the margin. And I understand, it is a time when they, even for them, revenue has stopped.
Exactly.
But it does seem a little unfair that they're the ones able to kind of make the rules of the game, when it comes to this. But anyway, so we're sucking it up and going along. So we have stock at our bond. Firstly, when things opened up, the first week was chaos because liquor shops were open, but the bond was not allowed to open. Then we were like, okay, so now the bond is open, but there's no transport, there's no labor to kind of actually send stock.
Right.
So it's been helter-skelter in general, and to Abhinav's point, honestly, we've been thinking the other way around. I myself have been trying to stock up on beer rather than anything else, and I was lucky to have found 4 beer cans while cleaning house a couple of days back, and I've been savoring them.
Shantanu, for you, I think situation is much more difficult because you produce in Bhutan, and there are logistics involved from shifting your beer stock from Bhutan to other parts in India. So I have 2 questions for you. Number one, when you were closed down and you started operating again, was there a need to cleanse your entire system and all the tanks and everything to restart production? Number one. Number two, how difficult it is now, current situation, to send your finished products from Bhutan to markets in India?
Right. So see, we've been having a lot of supply chain issues, because most of the raw material goes from India into Bhutan, right? So that has been impacted. As far as the lockdown is concerned, it hasn't been that stringent in Bhutan because the number of cases were not very high. But there's a lot of labor that goes from India to Bhutan. So all that has been stopped. So the borders are sealed, and they will remain sealed for quite some time. So I think these challenges are going to stay for a few months more, is what we're anticipating. So just before the lockdown, we were able to get some shipment into India. But once it came into India, what even Anand talked about, say for example for Maharashtra, we were trying to bulk it up a little bit before the renewal kicks in on March 31st. But in Maharashtra, our key market is Mumbai, and Mumbai, despite all the news that we have been hearing and the lot of flip-flopping that has happened, it hasn't opened up. Right, there was a notification that they would allow home delivery, but specifically in Mumbai, Pune, and Thane, they haven't done so as yet. So Mumbai has been on a standstill. Bangalore, we are again facing the similar challenges, the new cost card has to be approved, so that process is on. In Delhi, we have we have our shipment with the distributor, but for us, the primary market is the private vend that we have, and those are still not open. And we are also wondering why. What we've been told is that maybe May 17th, 18th, some of the private vends which meet the MHA guidelines will be allowed to open up. So hopefully things will start to change in Delhi itself. But from a recovery point of view, it seems that we may still be a couple of months away. If like the COVID-19 trajectory doesn't change too much, before we can, start to get back to some sort of normalcy. But still, like it's very, very choppy so far. And we expect this to remain the same over the next couple of months at least.
Shantanu both said that there was a labor problem. Laborers were not available, or borders are sealed, or they are migrating to their home states. So
what has happened?
Yeah.
So Shalini, what has happened is that, like, because there is so much of like packaging material, raw material that is needed to get the finished product out, right? And all of this got shut down, right, at a day's notice. And now, even when we said that, okay, some of these businesses are allowed to open up, they don't have the labor. And so those things are also taking time, be it like the glass bottle manufacturers, wherever the packaging is happening. Some of these areas are part of the containment zone. So we have to navigate through to make sure that things are happening. And even if, let's say, the one item doesn't come through, it delays the entire process. So there are too many dependencies, too many nodes in here, and it is like hard to predict what would fall off. So, it's like almost like a daily hustle for us to figure out, like, how do we make it happen? And then, like, it depends on the government as well, that, when they will open up different markets.
So that you mean to say that even if the factory's production starts, it will be a big challenge because of the labor problem. Am I right?
So it depends. In certain places, it may start off. But for everything to hit a sense of normalcy, right? Like for all the supply chain to become a little more smooth, it seems that this will take a lot of time.
I think let's take this question about what does the future outlook is for all of you when normalcy would return. So you have ear to the ground and must be talking to a lot of people. So what do you feel? I think Anand must be in a better space because Goa is much more liquor friendly than other states. So what is your outlook?
Goa is, yeah, sure. Goa is a green, classified as a green space. Well, at least South Goa, and that's where we are.
COVID-free zone.
Yeah, supposedly. But let's see.
Yeah.
No, I think, firstly, Goa primarily, the sales happen through tourism, right? We're heavily dependent on tourists there, and guess what? There are no tourists right now. So while yes, we're allowed to sell freely in Goa,
but nobody is buying.
There's no one there to buy.
Yeah.
So it's great to kind of say that, oh yeah, we're in a green space. But I think in terms of when you look at future outlook, I think generally there is now, at least there is a little bit of optimism, as long as you're not, like I said in the beginning, as long as you're not the owner or someone employed by a bar or a restaurant. There it is going to be a little difficult, and it is going to be a little bit challenging to kind of come through this. But I think for at least all of us on this group, there is still some positivity here because, retail already generally makes up about 60-70% of most liquor businesses. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. But at least for us, between 60-70% comes from retail, which just means that the rest 30% will have to be bulked up by retail again. So by the same people who used to go out will now be kind of drinking at home. Which, I mean, I know, and we love to talk about negatives, and somehow, Shalini and Vishen, whichever platform you guys put us on, we always love talking about the government, and we love talking about how how they're out to get us. But I think it's always nice to look at the positives, whatever the silver lining there is there. And I think in this particular one, the silver lining is probably that your customers will get a little bit more involved, right? They have more time to sit back and appreciate craft products like all of us. Right? They have more time to kind of sit at home and make a cocktail, right? They have more time to sit at home, make a ginger syrup, try and make a cocktail that they would have otherwise not even thought about while ordering off the menu, right?
Showing their cocktail plates to their family.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Not just to, I mean, it's just being better involved, right? Whether it's reading about the beer that they're drinking, whether it's even reading the label, right? Which otherwise they wouldn't have even seen the beer bottle, right? They would have otherwise just gotten into a glass and been poured out. So I think it just gives us time as consumers to kind of sit back and or take time and smell the roses, right? Is what they say. So we're taking time and smelling the whiskey, or taking time and smelling the gin, or taking time and smelling the beer in this case. So I think that's a big positive, and I think while drinking habits will change temporarily, honestly, the moment they have a cure for this, or they have a solution for this, everyone's going to be running back to the bars and restaurants, because while we love kind of making food for ourselves and everything, I think we're all craving.
On-premise sale will be more than the off-premise than the on-premise.
Oh yeah, it'll be 100%. Right now, though, 100% is going to be off-premise. There's no.
Good.
Sorry.
For craft products like you all have, it's a good thing. People will go and buy that.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad thing as such, but like I said, we can't complain. Given that that I've been really involved with Perch, right? Perch has now got 3 outlets, so I'm closely seeing how impacted they are, and honestly, we can't complain, which is exactly why. So we've come out with this thing where of course, we've seen Diageo and Bacardi and Pernod kind of donate money for the greater cause, and of course, we're looking possibly at the government kind of having some sort of a bailout, etc. And we also wanted to contribute, but obviously we don't have that kind of capacity to kind of say here's a few crores, right? We don't have that. So instead, what we're doing is we're creating new jobs. Right now we've got 20 people that work for us currently, right, including myself. And what we're doing is, in each city that we operate, we are actually creating 5 to 10 jobs each. So in total, we're doing about 40 to 50 jobs, which are commission based. So, and only open for the F&B guys who have been laid off or been fired or whatever else. So we've got restaurant managers, bartenders, all of them applying for this, and basically they will be able to go out and sell our brands to retail, because again, we've barely got any retail coverage so far. They will be able to go out and open all of this for us, and from every sale they make, they keep all of the profit. So we don't get any of the profit, right? So what we are getting is being able to do a little bit of good, just expanding our universe, and in return we're able to provide a livelihood, or at least kind of substitute the main livelihood, and potentially even more to 40-50 people in the industry. So while it doesn't have the impact on 7 million people, 40-50 people is still a decent start.
Exactly. So
Shivam, so you as people said that most of the sales are coming from retail, and your whiskey in the price segment is normally sold at retail stores. But now I'm switching on to what kind of support you expect from the government, because this is time when the industry, finance minister is coming on television sets every day and offering some packages to all SMEs and other industrial sectors. What kind of support system you expect from the government, which would keep your head above the water and keep your businesses growing?
So honestly, I'll be naive if I expect something from the government to come clear, right? The finance minister announced a 3 lakh crore package for the MSMEs at 4 p.m.
Shivam, you can continue.
Yeah, I think someone heard us, I guess. We were talking about the government and they shut us off.
yeah.
So I'm not, I'm sure the government is trying to do something for the MSMEs, and I'm positive on that. But I think we can't have a plan of action based on what they'll provide us. So as long as I look forward to it, if they do something positive, great. But I can't have a plan of action based on some information which is not there with me right now. So the finance minister laid out this 3 lakh crore package, But I called up the bank the next morning to understand, has any documentation come in or has any paper or information come in to you guys, wherein you can send it to me and I will start reading about it. How do I get this and how much do I get? Fortunately, unfortunately, there was none. So I think it will take some time for information to be passed on to our bankers and for them to pass it on to us and then understand what are the implications for that. Even if they're offering a moratorium for X number of months, that's not interest waived off. That's the interest is accruing. So I figured that I need to. So there's this saying, I think I heard Jack Ma say it sometime on one of his videos, that you raise capital when you don't need it, because you'll be in the best frame of mind to do it then. And I think we're learning a bitter pill that we need to be better equipped in terms of everything if you have to go to market. And over the past 2 months, I've been brushing up on my deck and information which is required to take to investors. So I am planning in those lines for myself at least. And say for instance, if I'm taking this period as a blessing, I might have taken say 6 months, 5 months to prepare that entire deck, which requires a whole lot of other stuff, and there's a lot of things they expect out of you. So it took me 2 months to finally get something in shape, and now we're constantly trying to talk to people who might be interested in this space. Another big challenge is we're a hard labor company, and even these professional investors have not really delved into this space despite the biggest people in the world betting big. Santuri is laying out a $1 billion target for 2030. Pernod is doubling down. Diageo is increasing its stake in USL. Every big organization in the world is betting big on India. Yet, our own banking system and our own capital people in the country are skeptical because of these state challenges, perhaps. And going forward, if we want to make a better space in terms of liquor, there has to be a homogeneous policy. So coming from a solution standpoint, I can't go to a website wherein I can see all 32 territories and read about them. So it's not a difficult thing to do. Just put up all the policies of all states together in one place, and anyone who wants to read, they can read, right? I don't know how my product will be priced in so many different states. At least I should be able to get that in one space and not waste my time on that. I'm expecting this from my government, and in case they need any cooperation from us, I think we are more than happy. We are in different parts of the countries, and whatever information these bigger players can also provide. So I think that will help in terms of information. Apart from that, I think Mr. Malia might have laid down the foundation for consolidation way back when he started off under his father. So he's buying companies which are based in Chennai, based in Kolkata, based in UP, and taking the local knowledge and clubbing it all together. And he did it with beer and liquor. So if he has that foresight back then, I think right now, if we obviously we can't buy different companies right now, but at least we can somehow, in whatever capacity, help each other, at least in terms of information, being all young makers and trying to make it in this industry.
Good competitive environment.
It's not competition, ma'am. I'm not in competition with.
No. It's okay. They are producing beer, but even if there is any other whiskey maker, so
that's fine, ma'am.
Fine. That is good. Fair competition. That will be good for the industry.
We are a $35 billion plus industry in India. That's massive, beyond what we need in our lives. And even if we get a tiny portion of that, I think I don't think so. We're all of us over here are just looking for that. We genuinely want to give a good quality at a price point which an Indian consumer will appreciate. And as Shantanu said, that we'll have to put in some moderation. So the stigmatization of the industry is important. I think we should get some model wherein everyone can contribute in that sense.
Okay.
So 2-3 points, ma'am, of transparent policies in one place so that you can read, help each other out in terms of information or logistics, at least logistical senses, and destigmatization of the of the industry per se, in terms of education, should move us forward. And I think we can leverage technology for that going forward after things normalize post-COVID.
Okay. Now we come back to Shantanu. You tell us.
Right. So see, I think one of the silver lining that I see at this point of time is that we may be able to push through the agenda of online sales and home delivery, which I think will be a big win if that can happen. Are you able to hear me well? I think there's a bit of a disturbance.
Yeah,
There is
somewhere.
some disturbance somewhere.
There is an echo. I think if everyone is able to put their
Yeah, we all are getting it.
Yeah, it's
that will
better.
help.
Better.
Yeah, better.
Much
Thank
better.
you.
Much better. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think if we can push through the online sales, I think that could be a big win. And specifically, if you look at the other markets like be it US and Europe, like the sales for alcohol have actually taken off in a big way, right? And we couldn't do the same thing in India because of all the lockdown and maybe it was needed in a country like ours. But I think see the two reasons why the government or the excise is fearful of changing the distribution to an extent is that we're not saying that the retail will go off, like the online can stay as a separate distribution channel as well. But see the technology, right? See the technology now is fully equipped to make it happen, right? If you look at the two challenges that are there is that there is no duty evasion, right? And then the second one is that the alcohol goes into the right hands. And the technology today allows that you could pretty much keep a very tight control on both of those, right? Like if on one angle we are looking at all the digital payments, then I don't think that there should be any reason why liquor specifically like ours cannot be sold online or can be sold on Amazon as well. But there are some hoops to cross to get there. But I think that has started in the right direction. The High Court is taking a position that the home delivery must be allowed, especially for social distancing. So this might be a good time. This crisis, can come as a blessing in disguise, right? Is what we're hoping for.
Time to change the mindset as well of the people
But-
sitting at the helm of affairs.
Do you
Right.
think,
But see
Shantanu,
this. Sure, please go ahead.
yeah, I was thinking, do you think that retail lobby will agree to it?
See, it may not be easy for them, right? Because they might see some business will get hit for
They
them.
might shell
right?
out some of their margins. I mean,
Right.
consumers.
Right. See, but what happens is that, eventually, if it is allowed to happen online, right, the overall pie would also substantially increase, right? Today, specifically for brands like us, see, if we look at the reality, even from the excise side, right, and there are such well-meaning, intelligent people in the bureaucracy, and they also understand that people like us, we are fairly new, right? We are trying to do a disruptive thing in the market, all headed in the right direction. But our contribution to excise is still very, very low, right? Almost minuscule, right? So see, for them to change the excise playbook, which are 100 years old, there are different positions that are the incumbents that is already there. It's not that easy, right? If they do it something for us, the large guys will challenge them, right? So it's not an easy job, and we totally realize that, right? But I think that given the situation that we are in, there may be an opportunity that this might happen, right? And we have all the examples. We have the case studies of other markets where online sales have happened. The excise duty, everything is protected, and the process is a lot more streamlined. So I think the retail lobby will have to, of course, they have if they paid license fee and suddenly they see that an online model comes up, it's going to hit them as well. But I think it is going to be a benefiting thing for all of us. Right? We're not saying that just make it online. right? See, even in today's retail environment, if somebody has to pick up, like whether it's like a Dunzo or like a, you know, or like a courier or like their local delivery stuff, they will also benefit it. Like, you know, the retail outlet can basically cater to the demand, which is a lot more locally available. So I think it will be, I think it will work out for the best for everyone, right? If we look at, if we step back and take a larger picture into it, I think it is important that excise and the respective state governments to engage different stakeholders. These are not easy issues to solve for, right? But I think they should hear our perspectives, who are like the smaller guys, but like, you know, trying to, you know, break out from the old mold, right? So we have like a little bit of a value to add. Incumbents will have their own point of view. And then of course they have to take care of the stakeholders, right? Like the retailers who have been running these shops for like donkey years, right? You know, they need to basically safeguard their interests as well. So I think what is more important is that a discussion must happen. The broader logic must prevail. That's what we are asking for. And I think we should try our best to protect interests of different stakeholders.
Okay.
Shantanu, what happens with the change of technology? A lot of, you know, disruption happen. A lot of jobs also go. Like I come from mainstream media, where when the computers came in and sub-editors started proofreading the copies, all the jobs of proofreaders went away.
Right.
So,
It happens with
so
every
this is, happens
industry,
everywhere.
yeah.
So, you know,
And I do not expect the retailers to bend it like Beckham in a short time, and politicians and police and excise nexus do away very happily, give up whatever the cuts they get from the allotment of retail shops. But you know, the technology disruption is going to happen.
It must.
I think, yeah, Shantanu, you're saying something.
No, so Bishan, like, see, my background was also not food and beverage, right? Like, so I did like consulting for donkey years in the US and then in India. I focused a lot on like high tech, telecom, and media. So some of the industries that you looked at.
Okay.
So, you know, like I dabbled in like machine learning, AI. So that disruption is bound to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like it started like a few years back. And I think the government has to play that role, right? Like, so see, government comes in for the market failures, right? So there is a pain. There is going to be a pain. Like today, there's a pain for us. Tomorrow, it's going to be a pain for like other people.
Yeah.
So they need to figure it out how to stage it, right? But the process of technology is irreversible, right? Sooner or later, this will happen, right? Today, like COVID-19 is making us realize that, you know, why would you not sell it online, right?
Correct.
And see, this might happen.
This is the need of the hour, actually.
This is the need of the hour. And I think that we need to go with the flow. The government has to play a constructive role, right? And what we see with the government is like, you know what, like FDR said, you know, the only thing that we need to fear is the fear itself, right? I think they need to get comfortable with the technology, right?
True.
All the excise collection, making sure it lands in the right places, checking that the bootlegging is not happening between like different states, all that can be solved by technology in a much more robust way.
Does away all the corrupt things. It is very transparent process.
So Anand, what silver lining you see? Then I can go to Abhinav and then we close.
He already told.
Okay.
I already said my silver lining,
Yeah.
but I agree. Online delivery, again, we've been waiting for online delivery to start in India, and we've always had that mindset that India mein to nahi hoga. You know, we are excise guys.
We are coordinating with 2 states for home delivery.
Now it's great, right? Now there's a full justification to the fact that, listen, online delivery will allow you to not kind of have crowds in front of, you know, those scenes that we saw, right?
Social distancing.
Days ago. So I'm all for it that, you know, online delivery needs to be allowed. And while it's not as clean and black and white as technology is going to solve all our problems, it'll create many loopholes as well, which we haven't even thought about.
Then we learn.
Correct, but I think that's what the biggest fear is from the excise point of view. For them to say, yeah, it's a journey into the unknown, right? It's
that's right.
You know, they know where
it will open up the Pandora box.
Correct. Well,
yeah. So Abhinav, what is your
Abhinav, what are your final thoughts?
I would just first want to talk about you know, when we were speaking about the disruption and what we could expect of the government. I'm of the firm view that you don't never get anything unless you ask for it. Yes, we are an industry which is not heard. We are in an industry which is a milking cow, which has been a milking cow. The government expects a substantial amount of revenue that is generated by the alcohol industry, yet not think of what are the concerns.
We lost you, Abhinav.
We are
No,
can't get any. One second. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
can you repeat what you just said?
So I said that though we are a major contributor to the government tax revenues, we are probably the only industry who do not get GST adjustment for all our inputs.
Yeah.
Now that broadly contributes in the beer industry to about 15% of our input cost.
Okay.
Now I do not have any adjustment. In a crisis like this, the least that I can expect legitimately is the adjustment of this GST amount. What this crisis has done has choked my working capital lines. I can expect a bare minimum out of this massive 3 lakh crore of funding being floated in the market is that at least one financial institution steps forward and is ready to monetize my outstanding bills in the market. These are fairly secure bills. These are bills that nobody can deny. They are backed by a government issued pass and permit. Now we can have a scheme where the bank can step forward and say, okay, I'm willing to lend finances against these bills. We can expect certain reforms. Our units have been running at 1/3 the capacity, just one shift. Now, if all units, whether RM, PM, my unit, if everything runs at 1/3 the capacity, how are we to compete? How are we to make sure that we are able to churn out enough stocks? Now, it also affects, and it will, and I think so, it should, in some time to come, create a short-term, a demand-supply gap in the market. Units not producing enough, though there is a lax in demand, but I'm sure there will be a gap.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty clear in terms of very, very easy and short-term things that the government can do for an industry like ours. Coming back to what Shantanu and Anand very vehemently, and I think it is a fair thing, it has happened globally that the online sale and home delivery system has evolved over a period of time. I have watched it very closely. We work in multiple states, and out of which Punjab has already gone ahead and then they have implemented home delivery system. Ours is a very peculiar structure and how we operate with alcohol in this country. Ideally, beer should not have been taxed as much as it does get taxed in this country. It should have had a different route to market the way it is currently. It should probably have been available in more, departmental stores, consumer stores, kirana stores. I mean, there's no harm. It's a low alcoholic content beverage and not distilled. So yes, my wish list can be massive,
Yeah,
but
I know.
The least I can expect is that beer moves away from this, the clutches of being in as counted as an alcoholic beverage. We are not really a distilled spirit. We are a fermented beverage, and so should be treated like anywhere else in the world. Coming back to home delivery, every state, until unless these states come together, at least on account of how they want to approach home delivery, how do they want to approach this online sale, you can't have a structure which will work effortlessly in the long term. So Punjab has gone and said, okay, we'll have our retail stores designated for a particular area. They will be the pickup points for the delivery guy, and then the delivery will be effected. The consumer will bear the cost of delivery. Chhattisgarh has gone and said, okay, we have created, because they're the State Beverage Corporation, they said, okay, fine, we will bear the cost of the delivery. But Maharashtra, for example, has said that deliveries would only be effected through existing licensees and only to permit holders, and not in Mumbai and Pune. So, jitni mo utni baatein. So what I'm trying to say here is that they need to come across, sit on the table and say, okay, so we need to effect this, bringing all stakeholders on board. They also need to realize, and I've realized this in Uttarakhand, where the retailers have gone on strike. They have, in states where you have an assured excise revenue for a year against a quota, you can't expect the retailer who has paid the entire 100% amount of money in advance to take that kind of a hit. So the government, I mean, it's the government revenue at stake, where they auction their individual shops or groups of shops, depending upon from state to state, for assured realization of excise in the year. Now, if you want that assurance of realizing that tax, you need to build the online system accordingly so that nobody has any grudges against it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. One question I want to ask everyone, and one-liner answer. Are you satisfied with the role of mainline media, saying like school, colleges और क्या बंद हैं और liquor shops खोल दिए हैं?
इको आ रहा है.
अगर liquor shops बंद नहीं होती तो शायद ऐसा माहौल नहीं होता.
Okay, Shivam. Hello.
Yes.
Shivam.
What do I say now? I think certain media people are backed by certain parties and businesses, and if they earn out of keeping a positive view on the liquor industry, they put it down. If they do any advantage, they want mileage.
Echo, I think we are having an echo problem.
Abhinav, I think you'll have to put it on mute. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Can you just?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good.
So basically simple, ma'am, it's playing to their mileage, and that's what they're doing. That's what they know. They are not acting in a moral manner, in which this is a chance to, educate the country in a certain sense, which they are not. So as expected, as I am not shocked.
Okay. What about Shantanu? What about you? The role
No,
of
so as I said earlier, like, media did feast on the mayhem that was, caused on the streets. But I think that probably we need to work towards the destigmatization that is so rampant, right? We still believe in what was shown in the movies of the 70s, 80s, that anybody who's in this trade is either like a hardened criminal or a smuggler, right? So I think, and see, like, this goes to show that this is still well entrenched, right? Like when we see that like a mile-long kind of a queue, people do feel that this is what it is, right? So this is a reality that we need to confront. And I think we guys, like, we knew this before we got into it. So I think, and the whole reason we've gotten into this is to change this, like the view of the world. It will take us time. So I think, like I feel that like what media did is what they're supposed to do, but they could have been a little more sensitive. So they're missing out on the booze like anybody else, right? Like the people who like good quality stuff.
And they prefer much more than anybody else.
Yeah, that.
Can I add something?
What's your quote?
I think Shivam has something to add.
Acha, yeah, Shivam.
Ma'am, say for instance, there are 10 shops in a particular road, right? And the government is saying all 10 will open up. So this 1,000 crowd will get divided into 10 shops.
10 shops, 100 people at each shop.
Right. Now 9 don't open up, and there is no information that these won't open up.
Yeah.
And how much time does it take for a guy to say, "Yaar, ye theka khola hai, yahan pe aaja"? How much time does it take, right? So now government is partly responsible for this huge crowd in front of the wine shop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
but my question was, is media right to say things like these?
But mayhem was there.
the
Mayhem was there. You can't deny that.
No, I think this is completely insane. No sensitive people can say like that.
Yeah, but mayhem was there. You can't deny the fact.
No, but
No,
government, they said,
if you look
I am
at
trying.
queues outside other categories, there were queues outside kirana stores, there were queues outside milk booths, there were queues outside every possible business.
No,
Now,
they said
just
that government
to stigmatize one category of industry, I agree with ma'am. I think this is absolutely insane, uncalled for.
Yeah.
Guys,
But
I
was
think at the end of the day, media loves us. So
Everybody loves you.
so for them it's great, for them it's like, oh, it's a rekindling a lost connection, right?
TRP issue. For them, it's TRP issue.
Exactly, it's for them it's not, honestly, if these stories didn't sell, if people didn't care about liquor, they wouldn't have covered it.
Good.
People care about liquor, people care about the fact that and they love this whole WhatsApp message and video of, look how long the queue is in front of my shop. It's entertainment, guys. So media, when we're talking about media, we're not talking about like serious journalism and thought-provoking thoughts of, all right, what's going to happen, what's the planning, what should have been, etc., etc. It's a very base level of what media is, right? It's that shot of oh, look how long this line is, look how crazy it is, look how chaotic everything is.
Yeah, and the government is so crazy
everyone loves switching on the news at 7 p.m. and watching this, right, and being entertained in that sense. So that's the state of not just our media, around the world.
No, I just remember that one liner was there in some newspaper or TV that मंदिर मस्जिद स्कूल बंद हैं और ठेके खुल गए, something like that.
Yeah.
So this is very uncalled for.
Because mandir masjid doesn't provide to the coffers of the state, no. So
absolutely
it does provide, but it provides to other people. So we are a necessity. While we won't build as a necessity or an essential for consumers, right? That's just when you think about it from the consumption point of view. While consumers like to think, it's an essential and everything. Government was like, no, it's not an essential and everything. Until they realized a month and a half in that, listen, paisa nahi aa raha. So, and this is typical, right? This is typical. I don't know if you remember in the 90s, Haryana went into a prohibition state, right? They went dry, right? 1 year later, they came back.
Yeah.
Right. Same with Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu goes in and out of dry, wet conditions. It's crazy. It's like so the reason is every time they think, okay, dry jayenge, because then we'll win over the vote bank. We'll win over the voters. But then they realize as soon as they're done, they're like, this is not a sustainable promise. Especially now with GST, right? You have no other petroleum and alcohol, and right now petroleum also, who's out on the road? Yeah, there's no one out on the road. There's no one spending on petrol. So there's only one, and I think it was Shantanu who said in the beginning, who said, we are the guys providing the stimulus. So I guess if the government's watching, you're welcome.
So thank you all for being with us today.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for having us.
Thank you everyone.
It was so lovely to talk to the good guys of sin industry, and see the positivity in all of you. Let's hope for the better.
The good mafia.
The good mafia. Thank you, guys.